Star Trek Voyager had better alien villains than the Kazon. What happened? Star Trek Voyager had an original villain that was better than the universally hated Kazon. So why didn't the show end up using them? The Kazon are one of Star Trek Voyager's most universally hated villains. But the series almost had a better alien antagonist. As a consequence of being set in the Delta Quadrant, a completely uncharted region of space on the other side of the galaxy, Voyager had the challenge of coming up with a multitude of new alien races for the crew to encounter during episodes. Some of these species, like the Talaxians or the Hyrogen, were a hit with viewers, while others fell much farther short of the mark for an interesting Star Trek alien species. One such disliked species was the Kazon, who acted as one of the main antagonists for Voyager's first 2 seasons. The Kazon were first introduced in Voyager's pilot episode, Caretaker, and while they could have been an interesting race, were quickly derided as boring and somewhat derivative of previous franchise aliens like the Klingons. Although the Kazon were recurring villains throughout early episodes of the show, the USS Voyager moved out of their space after Season 2, paving the way for more interesting antagonists like the Borg. However, the Kazon were almost joined by another villainous species that would have been much more interesting. The Sicarians were meant to be a recurring villain on Star Trek Voyager. First introduced in Voyager Season 1, Episode 10, Prime Factors, the Sicarians were intended to be one of Voyager's main recurring villains, along with the Kazon and the Vidians. The Sicarians initially presented themselves as a friendly and generous race in Prime Factors, welcoming Voyager's crew to their planet for some much-needed shore leave and pampering. However, when negotiations to obtain a piece of Sicarian technology that could help Voyager get home fell through, the crew came to see that the Sicarians were a hedonistic and superficial race, constantly seeking pleasure but tiring of new diversions quickly. Despite the fact that Prime Factors was a well-executed episode, the idea of using the Sicarians as a recurring villain was dropped. This could have been because Voyager's creative team had struggled to flesh out Sicarian culture while writing the episode, or perhaps because the Sicarians weren't portrayed as a particularly militaristic race, meaning that their repeatedly attacking Voyager would have been less believable. Whatever the reason, the Sicarians were never seen again after Prime Factors, and the 2 species Voyager continued to feud with remained the Kazon and the Vidians.